Pam, you have such a precious gift now that a lot of people will never understand, and that's understanding how delicate life is and that you don't sweat the small things anymore. And that has stuck with me. I used to be a really anxious person, overthinker, and I am not that person anymore. It's like a switch. I just really encourage people to stop waiting to do the things that are going to make you happy and stop living life where you feel so unsatisfied, because life can be so short. It can change, right, on the drop of the dime. Like, it can be, tomorrow could be completely different. And you don't want to live your life, continue to live your life in regret or, again, just unhappy. Why?
Welcome to the My SGV podcast. Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you're from in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome.
All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate you spending this time with us. If you're new here, we bring you the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley. And if you are a returning listener, thank you for joining us once again. Well, Scott, do you know anybody in your close circle, or have you experienced someone close to you go through a cancer journey or maybe even die of cancer?
Oh, yeah. And I'm starting to see more, as you get older, you start to see it happen more. My father passed away. He had cancer. I even had a nephew who went through cancer and many. My best friend right now has cancer, and it's unbeatable. So yeah, I see it a lot now.
Oh, and I forgot, Jeff Julian, he came on the show.
Yes.
He shared his cancer journey, stage 4
two
cancer.
times actually, because on the show he talked about it having happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And after that show was aired, he was again diagnosed with a different kind of cancer, stage 4. He went through stage 4 with 2 different kinds of cancers and survived.
Yeah. And I remember him saying that he was going to doctor after doctor, and they were just speaking to him as if he was already dead. And the one doctor who gave him hope was like a huge turning point in his journey.
Yeah.
I don't know many people in my close circle or close to me with cancer. One that I do know is Victoria's mom, Elizabeth. And I remember hearing of the news and immediately just overcome with this feeling like, oh no, like, what's going to happen? I don't know. How do you support them? How long do they have? What's the right thing to say and not to say? And she asked me, she said, Russell, if it were you, what would you do? And at the time I had Dr. Newman, who was a oncological surgeon, retired. And he told me that he stopped giving his patients chemotherapy because the results were not positive for him. So I told Elizabeth, I said, well, for those reasons, I would not do that. And the other thing that I would do I would fast for the body to heal itself. And I told her that I would try to join her. And she was going to attempt, I think, 21 days. I think she made it to 19. And in addition to that, she went to a treatment facility out in Spain for 2 weeks. And they did all sorts of things to improve oxygen in the blood. And but in that journey, I was just learning about like how the support you receive and the advice that you get is like wide ranging, and you really have to determine what path you want to go down and what advice you want to seek. So there's more to that story, but the outcome today is that, she's cancer free or in remission, and it's just amazing. Yeah. So, well, if the listener hasn't guessed by now, there's some relation to that in our guest. But before we get to that, I want to thank Paris Baguette for the lovely treats that you see here. If you're looking on YouTube or if you're listening, they always supply boxes of treats for our guests, and oftentimes we'll finish the show and they're like looking at one, and we're like, no, take the whole box. So there's a whole box waiting for you at the end. Well, that brings us to our guest for today. Her name is Pamela James Segerquist. She's a cancer survivor, and so much more than that. And I'm giddy because I actually knew her in high school. She's also a realtor here in the San Gabriel Valley. But Pamela, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So why don't you tell them how we connected again here?
So I came across your podcast on Instagram. I didn't know it was you at the time, but I was so excited to see all of this amazing content about the San Gabriel Valley being put out. So I followed you and I started sharing the podcast with all my friends and family. Everybody was excited about this podcast. And then I saw a picture posted of this boy that I swore I knew from San Gabriel High School. And I said, is that Russell? And the person responded, was Russell, and said, yes, that's me. And that's how we connected.
Yeah.
It was super cool. It's such a small world, right?
It is, yeah. And I'm also hesitant to put my face out there. Now there's a camera on me, but at that time there wasn't. And yeah.
What happened? Did you see the photo of him and then you contacted him?
Yeah, I just made a comment on the Instagram story because it was one of those posts like, oh, I bet you won't post your teenage photo or something like
yes,
that,
right.
And yeah, I reached out just to see if I was correct, if that was the boy I remembered. And it was a club of ours from San Gabriel High School did socials with his club from Mark Keppel.
Oh, you went to different high schools.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So he's a couple years behind me, but one of my really close friends was really close friends with Russell. She also went to school with me, but yeah, we all knew each other. He didn't remember me though. I remembered him, but he didn't remember me.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of scary to put that out there, to see. And but I'm glad that we were able to connect.
Yeah.
I started scrolling through your Instagram and I was like, oh, it looks like she's a cancer survivor. And I wanted to hear that story and ask if you're willing to share that. Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, the show is called the My SGV podcast. What's your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
Well, my family has been here for a really long time. My great-grandparents came here from Arizona in the early 1900s and settled in San Gabriel. And my grandma and grandpa met here. Also on my grandfather's side, they came from Mexico, also early 1900s sometime. But yeah, my grandma and grandpa bought a house here in San Gabriel. My grandparents went to San Gabriel's schools at the time. And then my mom went to San Gabriel High School, and I went to San Gabriel High School. So it's a generational thing. Very proud Latina here in San Gabriel Valley. I was telling Russ that I was meeting with one of my grandmother's younger brothers recently. He's going to be 90 this year. And he was giving me so much history. And I see him all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. It was amazing.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. But he lived in San Gabriel all this time?
He's now out in San Fernando. Uh-huh. But yeah, he grew up here.
Told you what it was like at the turn of maybe it wasn't the turn of the century, but yeah, really.
Yeah.
What kind of changes did you hear about?
Oh, wow. It was really amazing. So I went through the questions that you guys sent me with my uncle because I wanted to hear what was special to him about San Gabriel and what were his favorite places. And a funny thing is, we had one of our favorite places was the same place.
Oh.
After all these years.
Don't share. Yeah, we'll save it for
okay, I'll hold on to that nugget.
Wow, yeah. Really?
Yeah. He shared, I think, some really important history with me, which I had learned a lot through my grandmother as well. My grandma was majored in Chicano studies at Cal State LA. So he shared with me that from the railroad tracks, so between Del Mar and San Gabriel Boulevard, from the railroad tracks to Lincoln School, they just called El Barrio. because it was all Latinos. Outside of that was all Caucasian. This is his
Where's Lincoln
memory.
School?
So it's off of Mission, and like it's like a 5-way stop there off of Mission and San Gabriel Boulevard, close to there.
Yeah, I know where you're talking. I
Okay.
think I know where you're talking
Yeah, my
about.
grandparents owned a house right across the street.
Okay.
But that's where my family
So
grew
just
up.
north of there, up to Del Mar, or I'm
Up
sorry,
to the
Del Mar
ri-
is to the west,
Mm-hmm.
and then San Gabriel. So between San Gabriel and Del Mar,
Mm-hmm.
that was all the barrio.
That's what he referred to it as. And I brought a couple of photos you guys can integrate maybe in the podcast.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the Lincoln School was where all the Latino kids went to school. And then he went to Mark Keppel High School.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he said that, there was a few, this was, again, his words, there's a few Japanese kids, a few black kids. But again, all of San Gabriel in his memory was Caucasian. And he shared with me that he felt like once he went to Mark Keppel that he was behind everybody else. And he has things, I think he could share with you guys on his own about growing up during that time and segregation and assimilation.
Yeah, he would be a great guest, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I was taught a lot about assimilation and segregation growing up because I wasn't a native Spanish speaker. And I had to learn why that was. So anyways, I can go on to a million tangents. So that's my connection. I was talking to my mom and sister, and they told me I should highlight that my grandmother was part of the Historical Society here in San Gabriel. And also her and my great-grandmother were some very significant volunteers at La Casa, which is a community center. And my great-grandfather was one of the landscapers at the Huntington.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a big part of making it look the way that it looks today. So when I say I have a lot of pride,
Yeah.
I had an amazing family that had a huge impact here in San Gabriel.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you may win the award for the deepest connections to the San Gabriel Valley.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just for the person that's sharing it so far, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of amazing people that live here and still live here, and they're have generational homes. And yeah, my parents and my uncle and some aunts, they still live here in San Gabriel, and yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty cool.
So you're very comfortable here.
I am.
Lots of family.
And I haven't lived here in a long time, actually. So I'm glad to be back.
What was it like for you growing up in San Gabriel?
I had a really fun childhood. I played sports. I had a really diverse group of friends, which I now am so grateful for. Whether it's, I learned so many different cultures growing up and food that I just feel so blessed to have grown up in such a diverse and just such a melting pot of people. Also people that challenged me, people that were first generation, the support of my family here in San Gabriel, all that San Gabriel had to offer, has to offer. I think it was great.
And you went to San Gabriel High School. I know this. And so you were in a club. You were in the Tri-High Y Club.
Yeah.
And we used to have socials with each other.
Yeah.
Do you actually remember those?
I vaguely, my friends and family do make fun of me for my bad memory. I blame it on the chemo. I'm just going to say that. But I a little bit. I remember we had a social at the beach one time.
Maybe.
That's the one I remember most. But
What was the name of the club?
What was yours?
Kuakua.
Oh, that's right. Ours was Famille de Ami.
That's right. Yes. Didn't Allie drive like a van?
She did.
A blue van.
That was her dad's van.
Okay. I was like, yeah, she had this van and
Yeah.
she was so cool in there. Yeah.
Yeah, she used to pack us in there.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
It was one of those sliding door vans, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Her
yeah.
dad was I don't know what his job was, but did upholstery.
Oh,
And that was one of his work vans, I believe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where does your journey take you after high school?
So I stayed in San Gabriel Valley for quite some time. I went to school here in LA County. Then I moved out to Maui and lived there for a few years.
Oh, you lived in Maui?
I did.
Wow. What part of the island?
Right on the border of Kihei and Wailea. So on the south side.
Would that be farther south from Kihei?
No, right there on the border of Kihei and Wailea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think our address was Kihei. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so my husband at the time and I moved out there. We were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, but we had been together a while, and we're like, why not? We don't have kids, we don't know no home, we can get new jobs, let's do it. So.
And did it live up to that?
It did. It was wonderful. We came to learn that was if we wanted to buy the type of home that we wanted to buy and raise a family, that wasn't the place that we wanted to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How come?
It was really expensive. And my husband was a police officer there. At that time, I think the salary was like $36,000. Most officers were working 2 jobs. I had a good jobs doing contracts for a timeshare hotel chain. But it was too expensive. We were going to have to save for longer than we wanted to buy something. And as you guys know, Hawaii is still one of the most expensive states to live in.
Right. Did you get island fever?
I didn't feel like it. Both of us are beach lovers and love to do things outdoors, and we made some really great friends and really involved in the community because of the law enforcement family that we had there.
Oh, and you didn't get the Kama'aina discount anywhere either, right? So that makes it even worse.
No, I did. We
did?
Yeah, because once you become a resident, you can get Kama'aina.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just show your Hawaii ID and it's all good. Okay. So, yeah, we lived out there, and then we decided to move to the Bay Area. That's where his parents lived. And then that's where I've been since, gosh, I don't even know what year we moved, but the last at least 15 years I was up in the Bay Area, and so I just moved back to San Gabriel a few months ago.
So you were living in the Bay Area for some time, and then, we were talking, there was this whirlwind of events in your life that, really one alone would be a lot to deal with, but them all together and converging at this one time was really something.
Yeah.
I'll let you share however you'd like to bring that in.
Sure. I feel like I want to share my story because, like you said, there was a lot of things that happened at one time, and I think it can become very difficult for us as human beings to be vulnerable and share these things. But I think the more we share and help people through our own pain, it helps others tremendously. Just hearing that you're not alone going through these things. I worked in tech for quite some time in the Bay, and I did information governance and data security. I was the head of HR for a tech company. And then I got laid off. And at that time, I had a friend of mine that said, hey, you should come and try real estate. It's time. He had been bugging me for a long time. And I said, I'm not going to be in sales. I don't want to do sales. And he said, just take care of people. You're great with people. Just focus on that. So I took my severance and started doing real estate. And at that time, my husband and I were going through some personal things at home. And so basically I lost my job. My husband and I were having some issues at home. I don't know how else to put that. It's hard to share. And we were really about to separate, and I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So this is in 2019 I got diagnosed. And my husband and I were about to separate at that time, and we decided that he needed to stay home and stay with me. And it was a really scary thing for me. And Russ, you spoke about at the beginning of this podcast that everybody has a different experience. You get advice from everyone besides your doctor, and it's a blur. Like, it felt like it just happened yesterday, but then happened so long ago at the same time. And I like to share my story about my breast cancer because I think there is this idea in people's minds with breast cancer that it happens, first of all, maybe when you're a little bit older. So I was pretty was a pretty young diagnosis, or I was considered young when I was diagnosed. And that you're probably going to feel something in your breast, which I did not. This was my first mammogram, and they found a spot that was less than 2 centimeters. And so they had me go back, and I had an ultrasound, and then it just started moving pretty quick. Like they wanted to do a biopsy, and for me, I was just marching through whatever they told me to do, right? And I kept being told, Pam, it's 90-something%, it's not cancer. They thought it was this calcification that had built up in the breast duct. And I was told that time and time again, I think 3 or 4 times from different oncologists. So oncologist, radiation oncologist, the surgeon who was an oncologist. And then it came back that it was breast cancer. And I was devastated. It was really difficult to hear that information. So I had a follow-up appointment with my oncologist, and she said, well, it's a pretty small area. So this is what the plan is. We're going to do a lumpectomy, which is they're just going to take, a part of the tissue from the breast and do radiation. And we should be good to go. Just let's take that area out, especially because it was so small. So my surgeon said, well, we're going to go in and take about 6 centimeters around, and I'll try to make you look just as good as you looked before you came in here, which he did. He did a great job. And my first surgery was October. I was diagnosed in August. Well, after surgery, they send the tissue to pathology, and it came back that the parameters were not clear. I had a microscopic form of breast cancer, and it had spread through all of that tissue. So after that, my oncologist said, I'm sorry, but we're going to recommend a mastectomy, and I need to prescribe chemo. It's very aggressive. And I had no idea we were going in that direction. So to me, it started out with small, it's not breast cancer, most likely not breast cancer, to it's small, we're just going to do this, to I need to have a mastectomy and chemo. Seems so extreme to me. And I do feel, Russ, that there are so many alternative ways to treat cancer. I truly believe that. I've seen so many people I've met trying different things that I see work. In my mind at that time, I just needed to follow the protocol, whatever my oncologist, I have one of the best oncologists in the country. I needed to just do whatever she was telling me to do. And I know from speaking to other cancer patients and survivors, a lot of us do that. Whatever the doctor says, because you're scared. Like, am I going to make it? And you just reevaluate your life, your friends, the advice you're being given, and just keep moving forward. That's it. I don't know how to explain the feelings I had at that time, besides I just kept checking the next box on the list to get through it.
What was your support network like during that time?
Well, I have an amazing family and an amazing group of friends. And part of this, whirlwind that we were talking about, so the layoff, the marriage, the cancer diagnosis and treatment, but then the pandemic hit during the time that I was going through some surgeries and treatment. So even though I have an amazing family, I'm so, so blessed. I know not everybody has the type of network that I do, and I count my blessings every day for that. During the pandemic, I couldn't get the same type of support, right? I had to go into surgeries by myself or treatments by myself. That was really challenging. I just felt a bit isolated. But at the get-go, my husband, my parents, I have 2 sisters, and my friends, and all my family. I have a really big family, just notes and flowers and gifts, and thank you to everybody out there that just sent a text that said they were thinking of me, because it really does get people through.
You said that when you're told of the diagnosis and it hits you, and then you just follow the advice, almost like you don't think it through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when that happened to my father as well. And then they start to get very aggressive in their actions, to fight it. And with the results are quite, what happens to a person like my father who follows the advice? I can't remember what you call it. They put a hole in his throat to allow him to breathe through, but he couldn't talk after that. So these very dramatic effects of immediate action, but all you can do is follow what they're saying. But did you regret just following it blindly?
No, I've thought long and hard about that. I did have more than one opinion. I would encourage anybody that gets sick with anything to get more than one opinion. I think it's really important to look at alternative medicine as well, even if you're integrating that with Western medicine. My doctor is unlike a lot of doctors, where she did encourage me to integrate alternative medicine into what we were already doing. I think because the cancer was microscopic and aggressive, that I was 100% okay with having the mastectomy and doing the chemo. I feel like there was unknowns that I was too afraid of at the time. I don't regret it. I do things. I treat my body differently than I used to. I will say that. But it's a lot to think about when you think you have that thought that I might die, right? And then, what is this aggressive form of microscopic cancer? So it had not only spread through my breast, it went through part of my dermis and also through part of my chest wall, when they found that when they went in to do the mastectomy. So I think I made the right choice, and I have been, I haven't had any signs of cancer since finishing my treatments. Something to think about.
Right, yeah. Well, it's just, I can't think of anything more scary, than being told the type of thing you were told, and just must have been, you don't even know how to react.
I think telling my parents was the hardest part for me.
Really?
Yeah.
And you had to do it by phone?
I did, because they happened to be on vacation at the time.
Oh.
But I needed to tell them right away. We're a really close family, and I know it was hard on me, but it was harder to watch my family. Sorry. It was harder to watch my family watching me go through that. Yeah.
Is there a tissue right there on the table, or is it?
No, I'm okay.
There's one on the ground, I think. There, if you see it.
Oops. I didn't expect that. It was just a lot. It was a lot. But watching your family and the pain in their face is horrible, and they feel helpless. I know. I could see it. Just like when you were talking about, what you said earlier. It's like, well, what do I do? How do I support someone? Me and I have a group of friends that have gone through different types of cancer. We just say, when you say you're going to be there for someone, be there for them. It can just be a text message, a note, send them a treat, anything. But there's a lot of people that disappear or make comments that you really don't need to hear at that time. You just want people to listen and just say they love you and they support you, whatever you decide, whatever treatments you decide to go through, and ask, like, what can I do? Usually, a lot of people, they're not responsive when you say, what can I do? Well, I don't know, right? But if you really want to be there for somebody going through something like cancer, it's just checking in, and these people, for myself, knowing that other people are thinking about me or wanting to do things.
You must have been thinking about it, or I imagine that you must have been thinking about it from day one, right? Like, okay, they said it's probably not. And is it constantly in the back of your mind, or are you able to shelve it? And then when they do tell you it's cancer, is it a 24-hour thing where you're, waking up thinking about it, going to bed? Is it like that?
For me, it was. When I did a follow-up appointment with my oncologist, I told her I couldn't sleep at all. I was anxious all the time. She did give me some advice on what to do. My oncologist also recommended to all her clients her patients that we were in therapy immediately. And at my cancer center, we had a psychologist that was part of the staff, and I met with and actually had my family meet with the psychologist as well. But I couldn't turn it off. It was horrible. It's just constant. Now it's, I just feel like I have PTSD, and when I have a pain somewhere, like, what is that? But don't self-diagnose. don't Google that stuff.
That was gonna be my next question. Like, were you just on the internet all night? Like,
no, I refused because I had reached out to one of my cousins had breast cancer. By the way, don't have a hereditary type of breast cancer. I did not test positive for, there's a gene that you can test positive for. But I reached out to my cousin and a woman that I used to work with, and they told me, don't Google anything. Just don't go down that rabbit hole. And so I tried to stay true to that, because that really is not good for your mental health.
Mm.
You mentioned some comments that, should be kept to themselves. Like, what was that?
Okay, you guys, I'm going to share this one short thing.
Okay.
I had some friends that were, I guess, having drinks with each other. I wasn't there. And one of my friends told my other friends, she'll be fine. It's not like she's dying or something. Well, my friends that heard that I don't think they've ever spoken to her again, right? Or I had somebody say directly to me, oh, breast cancer nowadays, they treat it like the flu.
Mm.
Those are just a couple comments. You would be shocked at some of the things I've heard over the years.
Yeah. It's very dismissive.
It is.
Yeah. Almost feels like they don't want to deal with the difficult feelings around it. Potentially,
yeah. And that's why I just stress to anybody out there, men and women, get your checks. May not be something you feel. Get your mammograms. It's so important. And if you're not feeling well, go. If you're not feeling well, doesn't matter what part of your body it is, don't hesitate to go get a checkup.
I hope you don't feel like my sharing of what I would do as an indictment of what you did.
No, not at all. I think it's really great to share the different paths that people take and opinions.
I also didn't have the luxury of not having to really decide for myself. It's a lot easier to say this is what I would do without being faced with the actual,
reality.
Yeah, of having cancer.
Yeah, I think in any situation we deal with in life, until you're in it, you don't know what you would do. Whether it's a relationship, a work situation, your body, we don't know until it's happening to us.
It sounds like your family was really there for you. Was there someone outside of your family that showed up for you? And if they did, who was it, and how did they show up for you during that time?
Any close friends of mine I consider my family, but there's a group of women and men that they know who they are, and I try to thank them regularly. I know since my cancer, my immediate group of friends has gotten smaller, just because I want to be a good friend back and spend quality time with those people. I know a lot of people and have a lot of friends, but there's a core group of people that were just there, and during the pandemic, that were willing to come up to the Bay and take care of me, even during the pandemic. And I will never forget that. And I don't want to call out anybody because I risk missing someone.
Sure.
But no, I really had a great support system. It just being there, like cooking for me, sending me meals, even just like a gas card. I don't know. It flowers, notes, prayer books. I'm not a really religious person, but everything anyone did for me was just amazing. I did not expect this this surge of support, and it was amazing.
So you had to make some pretty difficult decisions, like ones that were going to be, impact your life quite significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a point where you're like, okay, now this is all behind me, or do you still sort of feel the sort of weight of, I know you said you have, PTSD of feeling pain, but was there a point where you're like, okay, now I've overcome this and that part of my life is behind me?
I do feel in my spirit feels I'm not going to be sick again. I need to do is live life to the fullest, and I don't feel like I have the cancer like hovering over my head. I do live life really differently, and I'll give you guys a quote that my oncologist told me at my last appointment. She said, "Pam, you have such a precious gift now that a lot of people will never understand, and that's understanding how delicate life is, and that you don't sweat the small things anymore." And that has stuck with me. I used to be a really anxious person, overthinker, and I am not that person anymore. It's like a switch. As I started getting through my cancer journey and all of these other things piled on top of it, I just really encourage people to stop waiting to do the things that are going to make you happy, and stop living life where you feel so unsatisfied, because life can be so short. It can change right on the drop of a dime. Like tomorrow could be completely different. And you don't want to continue to live your life in regret, or again, just unhappy. Why? Like, why do we hold on to relationships that make us unhappy? Why do we keep friends that make us feel bad? Why do we stay in jobs that don't fulfill us? Why are we doing that? I know I've done it, but I'm determined not to live like that anymore. And I feel like if I could share that gift somehow with everyone, I would, because I just feel so many people are living that way.
What is your life like today?
So I moved from the Bay Area recently. So I spend more time with my family and my friends, and not stressing about the little things. And I've put my whole heart into my real estate career, because I get complete joy out of helping people with these huge milestones. My mentor told me, if you take care of people, the money will come. Just take care of people. And so now I'm doing something that I can really help people with, and I travel a lot. I step up to challenges, even when I'm afraid or nervous. And when I'm invited to something, I always go if I don't have plans already. There's just a lot of changes that I've made, and try to be more confident in myself and what I can give to this world and to others.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Pamela, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them. What did you bring with you today?
So I wanted to share this little tattoo that I have here on my finger. It's a little heart that I had put on a couple years ago, and it's as a reminder for myself to love myself first. And I know I struggle with that a lot of my life. Like I said, I was a very anxious, people-pleasing person, perfectionist, overthinker, And I need to stop and really think about, what do I want? What's going to make me happy? What can I do for others? Because I get so much fulfillment from that. But it's just a reminder. And I put it on my wedding finger because I love my husband very much. And it was a really big heartbreak for me. So no matter if we're with a partner or dating or what have you, just refocus on yourself. Make sure you're doing the things that make you happy and give yourself plenty of self-love.
Awesome. Another great message for everyone to take in. Thank you for that as well. We're going to take a quick break here, Pamela, but when we come back, I'm interested in the photos that you brought with you, and I'm wondering if you could share them with us.
Sure.
But let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
At Wormuth Law, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. Their multicultural staff have been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast.
All right, we're back with Pamela. Pamela, before the break, you had these several nuggets of wisdom to share with our audience, and I appreciate that. But before we get into the photos that I was mentioning, we like to ask this game of our guests. It's from this card game called Icebreakers, and you can choose to answer it or not. It's just another way for the audience to get to know us a little bit better. So the question is, what's your most used emoji?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think the laughing emoji.
The laughing one?
Yeah. I mean, me and my family have a group text, and we're funny people. And my friends, we're talking a lot of crap to each other and send a lot of memes and TikToks and stuff. So, yeah.
Laughing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say mine is probably the just a smile. Just to convey like that what I said is like there's this tone behind it, you know? Probably like either the smile or the praying hands, like saying thank you. Yeah. I
use the praying hands a lot too, but the laughing one, I don't think I can beat that.
We have to tell Scott what an emoji is.
Could you believe I have never, not even once in my life, used an emoji.
Never. Really? Wow.
Yeah, I don't even know exactly how you would use it. I mean,
that is funny.
I have never ever used one, and I of course, a lot of people use them, right? So sometimes I have to go to the emoji dictionary to see what they mean.
Because people are sending you emojis.
Yeah, they send me an emoji, and I wonder what the meaning is of that, So I go to the dictionary, and I've never used one. I
think also depending on your age, you use them differently, right? Like the younger generation, they have a whole code of what emojis stand for, right? And I just use the basic ones.
Yeah, sometimes my sister and my niece correct some of the things that I text, like, oh no, you shouldn't. This means this or this means that. My younger sister's 7 years younger than me, and then my niece says she's 24, so she corrects me when necessary.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening online or if you're watching on YouTube, what's your most used emoji? Let us know in the comments. Put your most used emoji in the comments, and we'll be sure to share that on a future episode. So, Pamela, you have these photos with you.
Yeah. Let's see here. So I brought this one. I have two that are like this. Should I put it in here?
Oh, this camera. Yeah, there you go.
This one and this one.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, you want to take a peek?
Yeah.
So these are from Lincoln School, and this was in 1945. This one, I have a couple uncles in the photo.
Oh, yeah.
This one, I believe one of my... honestly, I don't remember. My mom was telling me who was in this one. But it's a good example of, you could see everybody that went to Lincoln. And
so that would have been very Latino.
Yes. Very, yeah. I mean, all the Latinos went to Lincoln. And again, this is what's been shared with me. I have more school photos. My mom and I were digging through stuff, and I have some really, we were finding all kinds of things and digging through. I could share all kinds of stuff. I won't get into it. And then this is part of one of my favorite places.
Oh, just hold off on that.
Okay, so I want to show that. But yeah, I just thought I have a lot of old photos from San Gabriel.
Oh, the newspaper articles. What are those?
Yeah, so this was my great-grandma, a picture of her volunteering at La Casa. And the article's not about her, but it is a photo of her.
This is what, the San Gabriel Post-Advocate?
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think exists anymore.
No. There's a few clippings that we found, but I didn't want to inundate you with stuff. We have a lot of history in these tin containers that my grandma saved. So maybe because she was part of the Historical Society.
Now, do you have any idea when this newspaper article was from?
I'm not sure. I didn't look at the date on there.
It looks like perhaps the 60s.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Seeing the picture
Oh,
of my
President Johnson.
Okay.
So,
that dates
early
it,
60s. Yeah. Or mid 60s. Yeah. Wow.
So cool, right?
Yeah.
I was just so excited to see my great-grandma on here.
Yeah.
Because I knew my grandma had volunteered. She used to teach English to Spanish-speaking adults and children. And she did a lot of other stuff. But this was my great-grandma. I didn't know that she had also volunteered there before my grandma.
And is she the one who came from Arizona?
Yeah. Yeah, my great-grandma.
And you
her
said
husband.
90 years ago, right? So.
Well, more than that, because my uncle's going to be 90, and he was the baby of the family.
Okay.
Yeah, so early 1900s sometime.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for bringing those in.
Yeah.
So before we move on, what advice would you have for a woman who's maybe just recently been diagnosed with cancer or in that stage of her journey? What would you say to that person?
Number one is definitely find a therapist that specializes in helping people with disease or terminal illness or something in that field. I think that is really critical, and I can't thank my oncologist enough for pushing me to do that. The other thing is find a support group. So even if you don't have a lot of family support or friends, through your cancer doctor, through your cancer center, there will be support groups, and it's a little scary, but you need the support. I think that's my biggest piece of advice if you're just recently diagnosed, because it can be so overwhelming. And that would be my top two things.
Awesome. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, Pamela, we're going to move on to the final segment of the show where you'll get to share your pictures and we get to learn a little bit more about what you like in the San Gabriel Valley.
Okay.
So, Pamela, this is what we call the SGV 3, and we ask you to share your 3 favorite or most memorable places or experiences in the San Gabriel Valley.
Okay.
So, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. What's number 1?
Number 1 is the San Gabriel Playhouse, and I brought this photo. I have so many photos of me like in costumes. So me and my sisters used to take classes through the rec center.
You are the...
I'm this one in purple.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry. I'm this one. This is my mom and my little sister over here.
And is that in front of the Playhouse?
It is. Yeah. We were trying to find a better photo, but I don't know where they're at. So, but yeah, we used to take classes. Yeah, please. Take classes at the San Gabriel Rec Center. And then every year, I think it was once a year, we would perform. And it would be all the classes, and we'd get costumes, and I would look forward to it every year. So I did tap and ballet and tumbling when I was little, and then I did Hawaiian and Polynesian dancing. I did that till I was like 18 or 19.
At this place.
Yeah, at the
Wow.
rec center in San Gabriel.
Wow.
Yeah, and they offer a lot of classes still. I don't know if they perform like we did, but between my sisters and I, we had a ton of different costumes from all our different classes that we would take. Yeah, and San Gabriel, the auditorium still to this day has, they offer all types of, they have movie night, they had for Dia de los Muertos, they had performances all night, and then outside they were selling pan dulce and hot chocolate and coffee. They had some free projects for kids, and it's so beautiful in there. If you guys haven't been to the San Gabriel Auditorium, you need to check it out. It's just beautiful inside. It's been there forever, and that was my uncle's favorite place growing up.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, he said that they used to go and watch movies, that they could afford it. They used to give away, he said, plates, and so they used to go and collect the plates, like China.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Plate night or something.
Yeah.
I kind of remember that from my childhood. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he said that, they didn't have a lot of money, and so they would collect these plates, and they could go watch movies in Spanish as well. But yeah, I thought it was I didn't tell him what my favorite place was, or one of mine. And then when he shared that, we high-fived. It was really cute. Yeah, and
Wow.
my aunt was there at the time, my grandma's best friend, and she said, oh my gosh, and she was telling me her memories. She's the one that told me about the plates, that she would want to go to collect the plates. Yeah.
I've only seen pictures. I've not been inside, but it looks beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And San Gabriel has really been trying to do more community engagement, I can tell. My mom is pretty involved, so she's been keeping me up to date. But, there's a new Blossom Market that's right next to it. And there's just so much activity going on that, you should check it out for sure.
Awesome.
Let's
What's
see.
number 2?
Okay, number 2, me and my younger sister came up with this together. Farrell's.
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember Farrell's?
Yeah.
I do, yes.
On Rosemead Boulevard?
Yes. Yeah.
I had at least one birthday there that I remember, maybe more. But
You remember the big drum they used to?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was like a candy store too, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Right
Yeah,
when you walked
you're
in
right.
to the right.
Well, the building is still there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is now. Do you know?
The last
It's
time.
a
was it China?
Newport Harbor or
Yeah.
Seafood Harbor.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was Tony's
see-
restaurant.
Oh, that's the Farrell's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you're right. It is. It's got the big porch.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we used to just look forward to that as kids. We grew up playing sports, so after a game, some of the time
Yeah.
our team would go, right?
Like get a banana split there or something.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Wow, what memories.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we collaborated as a family for the stuff I'm sharing today, besides my cancer stuff. But Farrell's, man, that was the place to go.
It was.
I wonder when they closed down.
I don't know.
My mom would know. I'm not sure.
The candy store is what I really remember. Like they probably sold like those
Yeah.
wax bottle candies and the tape button stuff, like those old, candies.
Yeah.
And oh wow,
Yes.
Candy
great
canes
choice.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't remember it. My sister said, do you remember we used to love going to Farrell's? And I'm like, oh, I have to share that. I had already made my list of 3 until she said that. I said, I guess I'm going to have 4. I'll add that to the list.
Okay, so what's number 3?
So I don't know if you remember at the Santa Anita Mall,
Okay.
there was an ice cream store. My sister found the picture of the logos, but it was Bob's Old Fashioned Ice Cream, and they were ice creams. It was a square. It was a square ice cream, and
yeah.
you could pick what you want it dipped. Like I don't know
Oh,
if they
yeah,
had milk
sure.
chocolate, dark chocolate, and then pick the toppings for it to be
Yeah.
put in. So sprinkles or nuts or
Yeah,
chocolate.
right.
And I used to beg my parents to take me there. It was the perfect balance of all the things. Yeah, it was so delicious.
Yeah.
And we were researching recently. We can't find any more of those shops anywhere. But it was like at the corner, on one of the corners at the Santa Anita Mall, like inside a little cute, old-looking shop in there. It's such a great memory
Yeah,
me.
boy, I would love an ice cream square dipped in chocolate with nuts.
Yeah, it was so delicious.
And when you say Santa Anita Mall, it's not what exists today.
No.
It is the old mall, right?
The old mall. The old mall, yeah. Where
The food court was in the corner upstairs, right? There was like a Sbarro and
I think that was
hot dog on a
even
stick.
a little more modern because the restaurants, like there was a Don Ricardo's downstairs. Do you remember the Don Ricardo's downstairs? And I worked in the mall when I was 17, 18.
Did you?
Yeah, I worked at one store. My friend, she worked at the music store that was down at the bottom at the other end of the mall.
What was the one that got pushed out is now number 4?
Oh, yeah, let me look. Oh, Sunny Slope Little League. So Sunny Slope was where I grew up playing. I think I started playing before I could actually join T-ball because I had an older sister. And it's on Broadway. There are still fields there, but I don't know if they play ball there anymore. But on Broadway between San Gabriel Boulevard and Rosemead Boulevard. And me and all my friends, so many people that went to Jefferson Middle School and San Gabriel High School, we grew up playing ball there together, softball and baseball, and since we were like tiny tots. So, but I used to, and it was only a couple blocks from my house. So if my friends were playing and I wasn't, I would just run down there and ask my mom for money for the snack bar, and get some tickets and buy some candy and soda, and we'd hang out there. It was a good hangout spot.
So 2 of your top 3 were ice cream shops.
I know, and the funny thing is I'm not an ice cream, like a big ice cream eater. No, but those are the memories.
Yeah.
And I shared those things with you because I haven't lived here in so long that I wanted to share with you my childhood memories for San Gabriel. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was like a fun ride down these memories.
Good.
Well, Pamela, thank you so much for coming on and
Thanks
sharing
for
your
having
story
me.
with us. Yeah, I'm sure that your story will encourage many people out there and hopefully give them a voice to share their own story as well. Pamela, I know you do real estate, is that right? And so if someone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
I have an Instagram. That's probably the easiest way. My cell number is on my Instagram account.
It's Real Estate Pamela J. And so you're saying that's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. My cell number is listed on there as well. If anybody needs any help in SGV or IE or OC, I go wherever my clients need me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Another show in the books. It's really touching to see someone's journey, through their own eyes and get to hear what they've experienced. I feel so blessed to get an education on so many different areas of life and people's experience here on this show. And I hope you feel the same way, that you get something like that from our guests and their stories. Thank you for spending this time with us. We do appreciate it. If you want to check out our full back catalog of episodes, check out mysgv.net and check out the shop there. Actually, there's a hat that has appeared now on camera behind Scott. So there's merch there, like our hat, shirts, and all that good stuff. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next week, we'll see you then.
Thank you for joining us on the My SGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Russell Mono and edited by Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice matter. No, kind matter.